Right, before I talk to you about methods of training, I'm going to actually explain the principles of training. And understanding this will help you understand how to make a training program and how to get fit and achieve your goal. And the first thing is that you have to understand that whatever your goal you've chosen, what you've done is you've looked at adaptation. Adaptation is something in your body. And what adaptation means is that you're basically talking about change. You want to change something about your body, something either cosmetic, which is on the outside, or something internally in your body, but nonetheless you want to adapt or change something about you. All right, and that's what training is. Training is about change and it's about adaptation. All right, and we're really focused in this assessment on the physiological adaptation. Physiological is like the body's adaptations, like the body change, because that's what the whole point is to change something. That's your goal. Now, the way your body works is that your body does not like change. The way to get this adaptation and this change in your body is to overload. Overload whatever you want changed. What overload means is that you're putting stress on it. You're making it fatigue, you're hurting it, you're making it pain. Overload is you're putting stress on something. You're making it uncomfortable. All right? You're making it uncomfortable. And your body doesn't like being made to feel uncomfortable. Your body would prefer not to be made to feel uncomfortable. So when you do make certain parts of your body feel or overload, when you do overload something, all right, what will happen is that your body will change and it will adapt in response to it. And an example would be David, who's been running around the track for the last 5 or 6 weeks, and he's in absolute pain and agony as he's doing it, and his heart's going nuts, his breathing's going nuts, he can't talk, he collapses at the end of it. So he's putting stress, he's overloading those systems within himself, his lungs, his heart, and things. You're overloading those things, and as a result, your body will change and it'll adapt. And your heart will get bigger, your lungs will get bigger, you'll get more red blood cells as a result. Your body doesn't like being overloaded and stressed, so your body adapts and changes as a result. Now, the other thing you've been doing is weights. You've been doing resistance training. And you've been overloading muscles. And you might do a bicep curl, and you're doing it, and you're making it really sore, and you're stressing it, you're overloading it. Once again, you're overloading it. Stress. And you're doing it until you can't do any more, until it's painful. Right? And that's the more pain, the better. The more you overload, the better, because your body doesn't like that, and it physiologically changes and adapts. And in that case, your muscle will grow, become stronger, become bigger. That will be the physiological adaptation. So everything that you're going to do, you've all got individual goals, but essentially the same principles will apply. You're going to overload or stress it, and your body's going to physiologically adapt as a result. Now, the next thing is that once you get adaptation, and adaptation occurs quite quickly. If you do resistance training, you'll get adaptation after about 1 or 2 weeks, or about 3 or 4 sessions in a gym. If you overload it 3 or 4 times over the space of 10 days or so, you'll start seeing some physiological adaptation, some change. When you're doing aerobic training, it takes a little bit longer, but then you don't get reversibility so quickly. But depending on what you change, you will get the adaptation quick. And when you get adaptation, you then have to progress. Progression. You can't do the same thing again, because if you do the same thing again, you won't be overloading your system anymore, because your body's adapted. So when you do the same thing again, it'll become easier. So when I take these police people running around the track, at the start, people couldn't even do 1 lap without stopping. And then over a period of time, they overload and stress it. They get the adaptation that's occurring. They have to then progress. And now people can do 2 laps, then maybe 3 laps, then maybe 4 laps, up to like Alan, who can now do 6 laps without stopping. All right, because that's what happens. You do have to progress, all right, to ensure that you get the overload and stress. So it becomes a triangle. So everything's like this. It's just a constant triangle. Overload, stress something, adaptation occurs. Then you have to progress. overload and stress will happen as a result of the progression. Adaptation occurs. And it's a cycle this is the addiction of training. And this is the addiction this is why people go to the gym and they can't stop. And people become fitness fanatics because of this triangle. They get stuck in this system here. Now, ways that you can progress. You can progress the intensity, all right, how hard you go. You can progress the duration, the length of time in which you're training. And you can progress what's the other progression? Intensity, duration. Oh, there's other ways as well. Forgotten. I'll come back to that. Okay. Now, in terms of the overload and stress, the overload and stress that you put on your body must be specific. We call it specificity. It's got to be specific for your goal. Specific to your goal. If your goal is to get a big muscly chest, you must do training that is specifically overloading these muscles. If your goal is to become aerobically fit, your training must be specific towards getting oxygen from here into your body. If you're training for flexibility, your training must be specific for increasing the range of movement in the joints which your goal is required. Specificity is an important part of overload. You don't train to overload other systems when they're not in fact your goal. Right? Does that make sense? And then you get the physiological adaptation. Too many people train the wrong way and they're not training specifically for their goal, their required goal. If you're training to lose weight, all right, you've got to train specifically on your energy systems, whereby you're actually high duration. Yeah, we'll talk about that more as the unit goes on. But this is the training circle. Duration, yeah. Just trying to think of other ways you progress. I'll come back to it. Right, I'm going to turn that off.